Now, on the flip side of the coin, when the rates are high, as they were, then the competition starts to go down because one, maybe not too many people qualify, and two, people are scared. They're like, whoa, wait a minute, the rates are too high for me. I can't do this. Right. So the competition is less. That's when you take advantage.
Welcome to another episode of C&V Productions Presents, and today we present Chris Crespo. Chris, welcome to the show. For those who are not familiar with you, who are you and what is it that you do?
Well, first of all, guys, thank you very much for having me. My name is Christopher Crespo, Chris for short. Yes, I prefer you call me Chris. I am a mortgage loan originator. That is my profession. So I basically help people get pre-approved, whether it's a primary residence or as an investor, commercial.
Awesome. How'd you get into this game?
Mortgages?
Yeah.
Well, this goes back to the early 2000s. My mom had a home back in, again, early 2000s. And what ended up happening, I was too young to help. But to make a long story short, she ended up losing the house. And it was for two reasons: language barrier and lack of knowledge. And that time, with the banks and the way they were working, it wasn't very, very good. Thus, the market crashed. She ended up losing a home. And I told her, I'm like, Mom, you know what? One day I'm going to get into this business. I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to get you a home. That's what brought me here.
Awesome. Yeah. So now do you find yourself dealing with a lot of people that are in the same situation as your mom? You can help them?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially because I speak Spanish. So the Hispanic community, whenever they hear a loan officer speaking Spanish, I could hear and see the relief. They're like, oh, wow, you know, I have so many questions. And yes, I can defend myself speaking English. But the fact that we are able to speak Spanish just gives me more peace. So absolutely.
Yeah.
So
what is the biggest challenge about being a loan officer?
First of all, one of the biggest challenge is like that trust factor, because there are so many banks out there, and there are so many banks. And hey, listen, full transparency, right? As a mortgage loan originator, you still have to make a living. Now that ties back to the rates. Okay. So when there are so many banks out there, and like big commercial banks, I'm not going to name them, but big commercial banks, when a client hears that they're not going to pay for whatever, then they'd rather go with them. But what ends up happening is the service portion is where it's different. However, for me, the challenging part is that, you know, it's like, and for lack of a better way to say it, you get what you pay for. You know?
Yeah. So when you're in the mortgage business, and we had this conversation, like insurance, there's not a lot of younger people getting involved in. Mm-hmm. Now, do you find that same situation in the mortgage industry?
Before, yes. Now I feel like there's more and more younger people starting to learn about mortgages, and they're being more intrigued to learn about it. But when I got into it, I don't think it was like that. Mm-hmm. And like we were talking before, pre-COVID, man, it was golden era. There was so many. When I got into it, it was like they were making so much money, right? Because the rates were so low. But as soon as the rates started going up, man, oh man, that was a different story. Right. MLOs, mortgage loan originator for short. So MLOs, they were dropping like flies because they didn't know how to sell. I come from a sell background. I worked in the car dealerships before. And then when I made that transition, for me, it was like, oh, this is nothing for me. You know?
Right.
So for those people that tend to run away when an industry or market is on a downturn, what would your advice be? Like, what should they be looking at to look at it as an opportunity, as opposed to, oh, this is too big of a risk, I got to run away from this, I got to sell my business or go into something else?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like correlate this back to rates, right? Because when rates are high, what happened with buyers? Oh, they want to stay back in the sideline because they say rates are too high. I'm going to wait for the rates to come back down. But what ends up happening when the rates are very low, there's more competition. So as a home buyer, when the rates are super low, which already happened, it was a seller's market. Meaning like, you know, you think you may be the only one looking at this property, but little did you know, there's 20 other people. And now as a seller, let's say you're the seller, you're not gonna just take his offer. You're gonna be like, well, there's 20 other people. I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna wait to see who offers me the highest.
Right.
So now it becomes way too competitive. Now, on the flip side of the coin, when the rates are high as they were, then the competition starts to go down because one, maybe not too many people qualify, and two, people are scared. They're like, whoa, wait a minute, the rates are too high for me. I can't do this. Right. So the competition is less. That's when you take advantage. And everything is about strategy. You don't go into it blindly, so you got to do your due diligence. But that is the moment to take advantage.
Now, you said something really good. The market goes down. The rates go up. Sales reps tend to go out of the business. Now, that comes back to the point of sales. Right? And in starting any business, I don't care what type of business it is, sales is key. So let's talk a little bit about how important, like for a new person that's, opening any type of business. Give me, your thought, because coming from a car sales perspective. Give us your vision on how important sales is, growing your business, starting your business, just in general.
Well, what I would tell everyone is understand that sales, don't separate it. Sales is psychology.
Right.
Because if you're not a salesperson, you're still selling every day. Let's say if you're playing a sport and somebody wants to, pick you over that person, what are you going to do? Nah, pick me because I can do this, I can do that. That's a form of selling.
Right.
Even when a person says, oh, I'm not good in sales. Why? Well, because I can't do this, you're still selling me on the point that you're not good in sales.
Yeah.
So don't separate that. That's just psychology. Understand that sales is part of everyday life, whether you realize that or not. It is. Right. Even if you're like, if you're a person and you see somebody, you find them attractive, what are you going to do? You're going to go up to them and you're going to try to present the best that you can to them. That's still sales.
Right.
But we tend to separate that.
Very good point. Very, very good point.
And so when someone says, hey, I'm not good at sales, what would your advice be as far as honing in on that skill? What should they be doing to expand that, or say, hey, if you want to do business, you want to grow a business, you need to learn or get better at sales. But what would your advice be? What should they be doing to get better? Are there specific techniques? Are there courses? Like what? I know you're saying we sell every day, and that's true. But for someone who's still somewhat timid, or will say, hey, I'm not naturally a salesman. What would your advice to them be? Should they be putting themselves in an uncomfortable situation? I'm just trying to figure out like what your advice for that person would be.
Well, I would say first work on yourself. First and foremost, because when you're selling a product, you can sell any product. It doesn't matter. You just got to learn that product in order to sell. But before you get there, you need to learn yourself. Do the homework about who you are, what's your strengths, your weaknesses, so that you can gain that confidence so that no matter what product you have to sell, you can do so. Because I find that people who tend to say, oh, I'm not good in sales, well, they haven't done the work on themselves to be able to problem solve. Maybe they don't have any system strategies. Maybe they're a little bit timid, but why are they timid? All those things I would say, well, first work on yourself, get yourself to be better. And then with the product itself, you should be able to get to that next step.
Yeah. And so what do you do to separate yourself from your competition?
I know it sounds cliche, but I really try to get to know the person. I talk to them like as a friend. I don't try to sell.
Right.
I don't. Yeah. Because I find that when I talk to people like that and I say, well, man, tell me a little bit about you. And we start talking on that level, the sell will naturally come. Because then what happens is they're going to say, man, I trust you.
Right.
And we spoke about trust before, right? So when we start talking and we start, like, as we say, chopping it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden you're like, man, I like your persona. I like your energy.
Right.
You're not pushy. We're talking. Right. And little by little, hey, you know what? I'm looking for a home. And then boom, that's how it starts.
And so what would you say to the customer? So let's switch it here. I'm a customer. I'm looking for an MLO. What should I be looking for? What question should I be asking?
From MLO?
From a customer side. If I'm a customer looking for an MLO.
First of all, you want to see how accessible the MLO is. Because if this is going to be your very first home, it's going to be most likely one of your biggest purchases ever, right? You want to make sure you're able to communicate with your MLO. Because communication, oh man, when I tell you I've had clients tell me that that's one of the biggest reasons why they love working with me is because of that. Because think about it. As if this is your first time, one of the biggest purchases, if not the biggest purchase of your life, you're going to have so many questions. And as you go on the journey, there's going to be so many questions that you're going to be scared. You're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. That's why I have a little joke with my clients. And I say, hey, listen, I'm not just your MLO. I'm your attorney. I'm your therapist. I'm like, whatever it is that you need me to be, I'm that person. Yeah. You know, obviously I'm going to have boundaries, but I'm pretty accessible.
Well, you find a lot of times that I think a lot of people become scared.
Yes.
In a lot of industries where, especially new home buyers, they don't know anything, right? So to have someone that could communicate with them, even about the littlest things, is a way to move things forward. Now, do you find that in your industry, and we talked about your benefit of communication, but do you find in your industry that a lot of people aren't doing that?
Yes.
Now, with that being said, how are you marketing yourself to say, well, I'm the guy that is doing it? How do you, what's your marketing strategy on getting that message out there?
I haven't really thought about that. I mean, I don't try to make it as a market strategy. Maybe I should, right? Because then again, to me, it's like, then I don't want to tell people, hey, you know, I'm accessible. Because now I feel like that's a sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, what agents do with me is that they'll call me on the weekend and I'll pick up. They're like, you see, he picks up. I told you. So, without even knowing, that's a market strategy.
That's it right there. Yeah. That's perfect.
It tends to be more word of mouth than actual.
Oh, yeah. I feel like in my line of industry, you know, you got social media, you got markets, you got all this good stuff. Word of mouth is the best type of marketing.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And actually, we spoke about that in a organization, CBNA, you know, shout out to Caesar and whatnot. Yeah. But word of mouth, when it comes to that warm introduction, oh, man, that's the best way to get business. Because if that person already trusts you and then you go, hey, you know, when you're looking for a home, hey, my guy, Chris, he does that. He can help you with that. The fact that we already know each other and I make that warm introduction, that makes things so much easier.
I don't know if we talked about this, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What has been, we may have talked about this already. What was the biggest challenges as far as you jumping from, like, say, car sales into this new industry for you?
Now we're talking, huh? Yeah. So in the car sales, I've done that for so many years, right? I had great money and whatnot, but just no time whatsoever. I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my family because we worked almost every day, every holiday, maybe Christmas and Thanksgiving we didn't work, but no time. Now, when I made the transition into mortgages, this is the funny story, right? In my mind, I said, man, if this is like car sales, I'm going to get in this and I'm going to kill it. Give me like 2 months, but I'm going to kill it. I'm going to be whatever. Little did I know COVID was going to happen, right? So I let go of my job. I get into mortgages and I'm thinking all of this, then COVID happened. Man, oh man, was I in for a rude awakening. I was in for a rude awakening. The challenging part was, one, that I had to rebuild my pipeline from zero. And now being in that market where the rates started going up, something that people were not used to, made it even worse. However, I call that a blessing in disguise for me because even though I got in, quote unquote, the worst market, it was a blessing in disguise for me because it forced me to learn so much in such a short period of time that I had no choice but to sharpen my skills quickly. You know, and coming from that sales background, it did allow me because I had that, like, I ain't going back. Right. You're only going forward. Right. You know?
That's great, man. I mean, it sounds like you had a ton of courage to make that decision and to stick with it, right? So again, piece of advice for business owners that are struggling, that are saying, hey, maybe I made the wrong choice. I mean, what did you do as far as internal, because you mentioned internal work.
Yes.
Like anything specifically that you did to kind of help motivate you, push you forward? Like what?
I'll take it a little bit deeper. Like, because there's a lot of things like you say for motivation, right? But we all know that we have our private lives. Right. So there's got to be that level of balance there.
Correct.
So if you have that balance, you can sort of move things forward a lot easier. So what are some of the things that you're doing outside that you can sort of recommend, or just give us your, like, what you're doing? So maybe if someone that's actually in the same sort of situation, they're struggling, they're not taking the time for themselves, what are you doing to help keep yourself grounded so you can continue to move the business forward?
Okay. Number one, you're not alone.
Right.
sometimes we tend to think that we're the only ones going through a certain trial and tribulations and whatnot. You're not alone. Trust me, there are so many people out there, they just don't speak about it. There's a lot of behind the scenes. So for me, what helped me is that I had to really kind of like reset my mind, because there's everything, for me at least now, I understand everything is about perspective. I always go back to the scene in the Matrix where the spoon is like,
Right.
you can bend the spoon. And you know what? There's truth to that, 100%, because what you give importance is going to be your reality. Right. And most of the times we make a problem bigger than what it is. And then we have this tendency, and again, I'm going to speak for myself. We have this tendency of like, when something happens, I used to say, why me? Why is this happening to me? I'm doing everything I can in my power, and I'm still coming out with the short end of the stick. Why? It was that mindset, that perspective. But then when I made this small switch and I said, wait a minute, hold on. I said, instead of saying, why me? How about we say, what is this teaching me?
Right.
Because honestly, this is what I say. You don't learn from your wins. You celebrate your wins.
Right.
You learn from your losses and when you fail. So I think it was Will Smith who said this. You fail. If you're going to fail, you fail forward.
Right.
And that's one of the things I tell everybody. You got to make that switch, that mindset, or that perspective. Why me? And start saying, what is this teaching me? Right. Because when you understand that, now you're going to reprogram your mind instead of going to the pity party. You're going to retrain your mind to start looking for solutions. Right. Yeah. So that's what helped me.
Yeah, it's funny you say the why me statement, because I'll just take it back a quick story. There was a young lady that a situation that happened to their family, and she said exactly the same thing. Like, why me? And it was talking towards a family member. Why did this happen to them? And I said very seriously to her, why not you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that wouldn't happen to you? Right? We're all human beings. These things can happen. But the whole thing is, how do you act when it happens? What do you take from it? What are you going to do to move it forward? Are you just going to sit back, accept it, or are you going to try to move on? So that comes to your point that you were just making. How do you just keep that moving forward? Like, is this a learning time for me? Right? And that's a great message that you're saying. It's like, why don't think why me? Just think, how is this teaching me to move forward and be better at what I do?
Absolutely. And to add on to that, another thing that I would say is give yourself more grace. Right. Sometimes as entrepreneurs and business owners and, just in general, when we're trying to get to the new level, we tend to be so hard on ourselves that we don't give ourselves enough grace. Yeah. It's okay to fail. It's okay. You got to allow yourself to go through the motion, because not every day is going to be rainbows. Not every day is going to be a success. This success is not a straight line. There's going to be curves, bumps, and everything in between. Right. So you got to give yourself that grace, that when the same way you celebrate the highs, you got to be able to sit down with your lows and let it really process it. And that's when you be able to say, okay, what is this moment right now teaching me? I'm going to allow myself to feel what I feel, and it's okay. But as long as I say, all right, look, for me, man, you know how many times I had lonely nights and I teared by myself? I lock myself away and I teared, and I'm like, man, this is a tough situation. And I'll probably be there for a little bit. And then once I'm done, I go like this. All right, Chris, you done? Good? You had your moment? Right. Let's get back to work. That's it.
That's right.
And it's okay.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned that, realtors might call you up and say, and you use an example, you hear me. So that means you have a team.
Yes.
You're putting together a team. So talk a little bit about that and how that's helped you grow your business.
Man, I can't do this alone. You got to have a team. Have to. One of the things that helped me grow is the fact that I actually try to help them. Whenever I come across as like, man, it's not about how can you help me in my business. It's more about how can I help you in your business? Right. How can I help you grow as an agent? What do you need me to do so that you can get to the next level? Right. When people see that in general, they love that. Then they're more willing to work with you and choose you, because they see how, sincere and how you're willing to help. Because if I'm willing to help them, then that means I'm also willing to help their clients.
Right. Yeah. Makes it much easier for them to send them over to you.
Correct.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you have any more questions there,
No, not right now.
Hey, all the questions are exhausted from Vic. Well, now's the time in in the episode where we really give you the opportunity to talk about, what you have going on, any ways for people to reach you and do business with you. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have, I just revamped my website. It's the number 1 stop MLO. So that's the number 1 STOP M as in Mary LO.com. Please feel free to go online. I have a ton of information on programs, on even other services. So my slogan is connecting people and services. That's one of the things I do. If you need an attorney, don't worry, I got you. You need an inspector, don't worry, I got you. You need an insurance broker, don't worry, I got you. I'm a one-stop shop, essentially. Nice. My Instagram is also One Stop MLO, and I have a lot of things online. I love doing webinars. We're actually going to have one very soon. But yeah, please feel free.
I mean, what do you talk about in the webinars?
Well, there's different things. So depending, we can go over like the buying process. I don't talk about rates. I don't talk about mortgage. It's strictly educational. So that way, you know how to prepare from A to Z. I talk about what to look out for, how to get your documents ready, what lenders look for, not just me, but lenders in general. Obviously, I would love for everyone to pick me, but lenders in general, so I like to prepare people, give them a real expectation.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, Chris, thank you for being on the podcast. We really appreciate it. I think you provide a lot of great knowledge for everybody. And for everybody out there, thank you for joining into the podcast. And please hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment if you have any questions for Chris or for me or Vic. We'd be happy to respond back to you. Thanks again, guys, for joining. Take care.
Thanks. Thanks, Chris.
Yep. Woo.